Throughout history, humanity had to face different ways of purification. We have learned from the past how to cope with the present difficulties. It is a time of trial and tribulation. It is a time to pray. Our generation have never experienced a global pandemic such as this one. A pandemic that has forced our churches to be closed for worship. The churches have become empty, but the hospitals are in their full capacity of people infected with this virus. COVID-19 has taken the life of many of our brothers and sisters. COVID-19 has affected our economy at all levels, leaving many families in difficult situations. The pandemic is not the only problem that we are facing today. Racial hate is also destroying our communities, and the wildfires are ending with our beautiful forests. This is our present reality, and it shouldn't be ignored. The testimonies of survivors and witnesses speak for themselves.
Hello, my name is Father Ivan I'm the priest, the pastor of St. Rita's Catholic Church. As we are facing and as we continue to face the pandemic, I want to share that this situation of the virus has affected each one of us in different ways and at different levels. This pandemic has affected us financially, socially, emotionally, psychologically, and even spiritually as well. Now more than ever, we have to encourage one another to keep our faith and our hope alive. This situation has affected me as a priest, as a human person, and I have come across with a lot of people who are hurting because of this pandemic. People who have lost their jobs, people who have been isolated, people who have gone through this horrible experience of the pandemic, of the virus, within their own family members. And this situation can continue to lead us to two different realities. The pandemic can lead us to the reality of coming closer to Christ, of being faithful to God, of even coming closer to Jesus Christ. But this pandemic can also lead us to the reality of having a family, a society, and an entire humanity without God. I have noticed and I have heard and I have come across with a lot of families that have been divided even more during this situation because politics, because the way they view the situation of the pandemics. And one of the most challenging and difficult situations for me has been being able to see how some people have died far, far away from their own family members. And then at the time of having a dignifying and a sacred moment, a funeral, in the past we celebrated funerals only with one or a couple of people. And that has been one of the most challenging situations for me. But I'll invite us, and I'll invite myself, and I'll invite each one of you to encourage one another, to allow others and to encourage others to keep our faith and our hope alive. May you come closer and closer to Jesus Christ, and may you do not lose faith and hope. May God bless you.
Hello, most of us have heard the saying that God works in mysterious ways, and I believe that this pandemic has been one of them. Before the pandemic, the world and our society was at a very high pace. We never had time to stop for prayer or to thank God. When the pandemic started, most of us felt lonely and depressed, and this is not because of the social interaction we have lost with our family members and our loved ones, but because our hearts and souls mourn for the love of God. Unfortunately, I had tested positive for COVID-19, and during my recovery time, the only thing that lifted me up from my hardships was prayer. Not only me praying in silence, but people praying over me and praying for me. I invite every single one of you to join me in prayer for the ending of this pandemic. Thank you.
Upon these challenges, the Church will not remain silent. We are a church that believes. We know how to pray. We are the Roman Catholic Church. Our shepherd, Most Reverend Joseph V. Brennan, invites all the parishes of the Diocese of Fresno and parishioners to join him in acts of prayer and fasting for 40 days for heavenly assistance with these present circumstances. This spiritual invitation is called Let Us Pray. Let us pray for many of our people who are in fear. Let us pray for those who have died or lost a loved one. Let us pray for the sick and elderly who are isolated from family and pastoral visits. Let us pray for an end to racism around us and within us. Let us pray with everyone, asking for healing and deliverance from this pandemic, from the wildfires, and for all the many needs of God's people and of our country as we prepare for an election. Let us pray will begin on September 14 and ending on October 23rd. Your respective parish is going to inform you on how they are going to participate in these 40 days of prayer. Remember to join us in these 40 days of purification, and together let us pray.